Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Tamriel. Welcome to Final Fantasy XIV Commentary. Today, we're going to be talking about combat and the primary concern that many new players have regarding Final Fantasy XIV. If you have played games like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online, Terra, Rift, and a slew of many other MMOs out there that have a very short, around 1 second global cooldown, you'll be very jaunted when you start playing Final Fantasy XIV and see a very slower pace 2.5 second global cooldown for your main character and start noticing that the combat does feel very slow and sluggish. In fact, I've had a lot of feedback from my personal friends and acquaintances here on YouTube that have tried out the game before state that they feel like the combat is very slow, very sluggish, and doesn't feel like it really picks up in Final Fantasy XIV at any moment. Let me assure you that there is a very valid reason for it, and I wanted to create this video today to kind of explain my theories and my thoughts regarding the combat and why is it like that. Many players simply assume that the combat feels slow and sluggish and quote-unquote dumbed down because it's made for consoles. Let me tell you, the combat is nowhere close to dumbed down. In fact, a lot of times I'm surprised many players that play Final Fantasy XIV on PlayStation 4 are able to keep up with all the cooldowns, the rotations, the abilities, the mechanics per class. Final Fantasy XIV is a game that doesn't go easy on the player, especially around level 60. When you get your character to level 60, you have a slew of brand new abilities that are just related for your job and for your class. Incorporating them into your rotation and your openers and your general combat was extremely difficult for new players when first starting to play Heavensward. As a bard and many other bards out there, nobody knew what the new rotation and new openers should be like. We got a slew of new abilities that completely changed how bard is played and is seen by many bards out there. Our mobility was taken away and was replaced with stable damage and even more intricate combat patterns that we have to follow for our full rotation. It became a very fun class to play, but feels much different at level 60 than it does at level 50. And while I'm one of the few bards out there that actually prefers and likes this new change, a lot of bards really do miss their mobility that they used to have at level 50 before Heavensward. In a way, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but I can assure you, the class, among other classes out there at level 60, are nowhere close to dumbed down or simplified. Each class is a learning curve, easy to play but hard to master, and that is something I can truly appreciate in an MMO game. While at lower levels it may seem very simple as you're trying to kill ads or doing your hunting log or questing or roaming around from place to place, the combat will definitely feel very slow and sluggish, understandably. As you start gaining a bunch of abilities to add to your rotation, defensive and offensive cooldowns, you start noticing that in between of the global cooldown, you can start popping those offensive and defensive abilities whenever necessary, and that becomes extremely important when it comes to learning your rotation. Many classes in Final Fantasy XIV almost feel like a dance. You have to adapt to the dance according to the procs and different abilities that are used in your current rotation. As a bard, I don't really feel that, but as a machinist, I certainly do. As a machinist, you have to watch out for procs, and having a 2.5 global second cooldown allows me to watch out for procs even better and maximize my damage to its fullest. And in between abilities, if I need to pop a cooldown, offensive cooldown or defensive cooldown to prepare for the next phase of the boss fight or be able to deal as much damage as possible, I can always do that in between the combat. While leveling and doing dungeons and guild hests at lower levels, you don't really feel like your abilities really do too much of an impact as long as you follow the rotation. And even if you don't follow the rotation or if you miss an ability, it's not that big of a deal because it's kind of like the learning phase. You're learning how to play your class, you're incorporating new job abilities, new class abilities, new cross-class abilities, and by the time you get to Heavensward, you get extra 5 abilities to add to your rotation. So at certain point, it does become kind of important to start figuring out what your abilities are and properly mapping everything out. The so-called slow down and sluggish combat of Final Fantasy XIV gives you ample time to decide your next move, your next piece of rotation, which offensive and defensive cooldowns to use, and look out for many mechanics that are happening all over the raid. Depending on the boss, you could be running all over the place and trying to dodge many mechanics, and different phases of the boss fight will cause you and your raid party to adjust itself accordingly. Now, regarding the combat speed, a lot of skeptics and new players out there believe that the combat is slow the way it is because it wants to make sure that the console players don't feel left out. And while that may be true, I do not believe anybody feels left out in the combat. In early levels, sure, the combat may seem pretty slow and sluggish, whether you're playing on PS4 or PC. Around level 50, everything starts picking up significantly and drastically. You have a lot of combat mechanics you're looking out for, you're following your combat, tanking or healing rotation, popping offensive and defensive cooldowns, avoiding mechanics on the field, constantly repositioning yourself, and there are a lot of things to worry about when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV raids and or dungeons. In other words, the game is not about how fast and how quickly you can hit your abilities. If you really want to see what the combat looks like in Final Fantasy XIV, I would suggest looking up any dungeon boss or raid boss fights on Final Fantasy XIV. Currently, you should be seeing on screen the very first boss of the Weeping City of Mog fight. This boss is pretty easy but has a lot of mechanics and a slew of different things you need to focus on. And I was even able to do this boss while lagging heavily because I was experiencing a storm here. And don't ask me why I decided to record during a storm, I have no idea. I think I was just being very impatient. Maybe I wanted to play the game, who knows? At least I got the footage and you get to see what the raid is like. Now, I do want to offer an alternative for players that want to pursue faster combat or faster combat speeds for Final Fantasy XIV. If you still want to play a faster class out there with a lower global cooldown or faster attack speeds, I would recommend playing as a monk. Monk has the ability to stack a passive called Grease Lightning. 3 stacks of Grease Lightning from certain abilities will make it so that your global cooldown is a lot lower and you fight a lot faster. Monk is a great class to play if you want to pursue something with faster combat speeds. If that is not enough for you, there are 2 stats you can stack in the game to increase your speed using materia: skill speed and spell speed. Skill speed is used for most classes, while spell speed is used for casters and healers. I hope this video answered the question. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like below. If you have any other concerns or you want to answer some of the concerns as a Final Fantasy XIV player yourself, feel free to leave your feedback and your answers in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. My name is Thamriel. Like, subscribe, and as always, have a great day. See ya!